Our gospel text of today is taken from the last chapter in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 24, verses 35 to 48, and is a scene immediately after the two disciples who had gone to Emmaus have returned to Jerusalem and have told the disciples their experience. Their experience is listened to, but then the other disciples also tell them of how the Lord has appeared to them. And the second scene is when the Lord comes right into their midst in Jerusalem. Even as they are discussing about him, the Lord makes himself present, the Lord makes himself known, and the gift which the Lord gives to his disciples is the gift of peace. The English word P-E-A-C-E is spelt or pronounced the same as P-I-E-C-E. And so therefore, when we pronounce the word peace, we need to ask ourselves what we mean. Do we mean P-E-A-C-E or P-I-E-C-E? Because P-I-E-C-E is the opposite of P-E-A-C-E. P-E-A-C-E stands for wholeness, stands for completeness, and P-I-E-C-E stands for separation. So when the Lord wishes or gives his disciples, he is not gifting them P-I-E-C-E, but he is gifting them shalom, which is P-E-A-C-E, that is wholeness, completeness in every single aspect of their lives. And the disciples are overjoyed. And the disciples experience this wholeness which the Lord brings. And because there is a continuity between the Jesus who was crucified, laid in the tomb, and rose again, and Jesus wants to show this continuity, he asks them if they have anything to eat. The reason why he asks them is because they are still confused about whether it is really the Lord, whether the Lord has really risen, and who is this who has made his appearance to them. And even as they debate among themselves, they offer the Lord a piece of broiled fish, which he takes and eats before their eyes. It is now a different Lord, and yet there is a continuity between the Jesus who lived in first century Palestine and the risen Christ now, who makes himself known and offers his disciples the gift of peace. In the last verses of the text of today, Jesus explains once again to the disciples how all that happened had to have happened because it had been ordained by God. It had been planned by God. The reason why he does this is to offer hope once again to the disciples, to offer this hope that they must realize that in every single situation, even when they cannot see and experience the presence of God as tangibly as they would want to, God is still present. God is still in control. In Gethsemane, it seemed that God was absent from the presence of Jesus. In Gethsemane, it seemed that God did not control what was happening. In Gethsemane, it seemed that the Lord was left to manage on his own, but that was not true. Jesus experienced the presence of his Father through the Father's silence, even in Gethsemane, and that is why he could dare to go to the cross. That is why he could ask his Father to forgive his oppressors, because they did not know what they were doing. Not only was Jesus able to forgive them, he found an excuse for them that they were ignorant of what they were doing. And so the Lord once again educates his disciples. The Lord once again trains his disciples about this fact in their own lives, namely that God is always present, because in Jesus, God is Emmanuel, God with us. And God is not only present, but God is also a God of the present and the God of the now. And at the end of this text, the Lord tells his disciples, or gives them a commission: you are witnesses to this. In other words, the Lord makes clear to his disciples that people who do not know him will never know him if the disciples do not make him known. The English word witness comes from the Greek marturia, from which we get our English martyr. So every one of us who professes to be a disciple of Jesus is willing to be a martyr on his behalf, to be a witness to the Lord. And this witnessing is not only, not even primarily by the words that we speak about the Lord, but by the actions that we perform. If we, like the Lord, reach out and break ourselves like he broke bread and himself, if we share whatever we have with others, if we are less ambitious and less accumulating and more giving and more serviceable, then the Lord is seen, the Lord is felt, and the Lord is experienced. Will you hear the command of the Lord to be a witness on his behalf? And will you be that witness today?